quite introverted anyway and likes their privacy, and someone whose work depends entirely on being very discreet, it comes as quite a bombshell in the book that you became the centre of 2 tabloid scandals in 2017, which may be where some people know you from rather than outside of your other activities. So how did you end up being on a transatlantic flight with Nigel Farage?
I mean, I was just coming back home from Atlanta. I don't know what he was doing there. He said he was doing some business. I think he was talking at some convention for Trump at the time. But no, I was on a flight, the nighttime flight that I would always get when I was coming back home. And, you know, I wasn't happy about Brexit at that time. And I was definitely not a fan of his at that time. So I was seated in, I think it was row 7. And at that time it was when they were still doing the setup. Anyway, in any case, he was sat opposite me. So the first thing I did really was I tweeted. I was like, I would be sat next to, opposite Nigel fucking Farage with like a gun emoji or something, you know. So I wasn't happy about it, and then things just escalated, as in my life they do. And I think what's important here is, in the book, is the first time the entire story has been told. You know, when that happened back then, I mean, holy shit, I had no idea what was going to happen. This was a huge trauma for me. People don't understand that from the time Nigel and I met to the time the encounter, as they called it, got reported, it's 10 days. So this isn't like we went on a flight and I'm such an attention-seeking girl, and I meet Nigel and I'm like, oh my God, Nigel Farage. And, you know, I text the tabloid hotline, if there is one, and go, oh my God, I'm going to be, you know, I could have done this.
Sure.
Yeah, because there was Wi-Fi on board. I'd already booked an Addison Lee taxi to pick me up. I still have the receipt and the email of that receipt, and the cancellation when he, for the second time that night, said, no, me and my driver will take you home. Don't worry about it. So I cancelled my taxi mid-air. So anyway, meet Nigel, and he's at the bar and I'm at the bar, and I'm in a mind to give him peace of my mind, because you know what I'm like.
Yeah.
I'm not one to hold back how I feel. So
you went over to go and...
Yeah, I went to have a go at him, and because the first thing I did, I just sat down, I ordered a drink, and he was looking in magazines, I suppose for pictures of himself, and he managed to find one, and he turned around to look at me, and he just said, this gives me street cred with my daughter. And I just looked at him like, okay, you know, cool story, bro. And kind of, you know, like, ugh. And I have a drink, and then I couldn't help myself. I was just like, kind of let into him about Brexit. I'm like, you know, da 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 da, and he's just like, well, da 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 da. So we get to talking, and then I'm very inquisitive with him, and he's giving me answers, and I'm just popping back, and and after a while, he's just like, you are extraordinary. Like, I've never met a woman like you, like, you know, and to the point I was bossing him about a bit. I even remember the air hostess, she asked if we wanted to have our dinner at the bar. This was after things had cooled down. And at the time I was vegetarian, and I was like, yeah, I'll have the vegetarian lasagna. And, you know, he was like, yeah, I said, so will he. He said, yeah, I ought to have that too, so I don't get in trouble. You know, so the vibe quickly switched from me kind of having a go at him to, you know, Nigel he's a charmer. That man, he can talk and he can charm you, and it's like about, so the conversation never stopped. You know, it was the entire flight. We were talking about all sorts of things. And it wasn't until the last half an hour when we were told to get into our seats that we sat down. And yes, things did escalate on the plane. But yeah, so anyway, that whole thing happened and comes out, the media, you've got, everyone has their own agenda, don't they? You've got the left, you know, they've got one way they want to say what's happened. You've got the right, and they're saying this happened. Bits and pieces are coming out. The full story, the full picture isn't coming out.
No, sure.
He essentially fed me to the wolves in this situation.
Hence we get the UKIPper and the stripper
headline. Oh my God. That headline, I saw that. Oh, that made me so angry. I still get angry. I'm mad right now thinking about that.
I can tell.
There was one, I think it was The Sun. It's the UKIPper and the stripper. And I know they make these stupid, you know, things need to rhyme. I've never been a stripper in my life.
No.
I'm too classy for that. No, it's not just that, but this is the girl who can't walk in front of people in the canteen and can't do the chicken dance at Hooters. How the fuck would I be a stripper? Absolutely not. So I was just like, they've gone too far.
It's in the Sun's rhyming dictionary, isn't it?
Called me at the tabloids, annihilated me. They're calling me every name in the book, but they call me a stripper, and I'm just like, oh no. This is not true. How dare they? Off with their heads. You know, one would think, you know, that wouldn't be my biggest work, but I was so mad about that. But yeah, so tabloids blow up, and I'm like, holy shit. What happened was I was sort of backed into a corner. I had no idea how nasty the British media press that they are. So I was coming home from Regent's Park one day. Guy shoves his card in my face, says my name, gets my attention, says I'm from The Sun. We're doing a story with you and Nigel Farage about a flight and we have this information and I have an iPad and I've already got a table opposite and I'd like you to come sit with me because we can go over it and this story is running. And I was like, I'm not talking to you. And he's like, the story's going to run regardless, so you can either cooperate or at least please just come and look at it. So I'm like, my heart just like pounding in my chest. And I'm like this little scared puppy. And I go, opposite to it with him. And he's got this iPad. And he's like, here, this is what we were writing. Is this is true, right? Is this true? And I'm going and I'm scrolling and I'm like, how do they know all this information? Like they have details that only he and I would know, or the people on that flight, and they've included private information of mine, of my children. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, no. Yeah. I turned around to the guy and I said, no, you can't print that. You can't put that in there. And he looked at me and he said, well, if you cooperate with me, then I can have that taken out. And so this was very naive of me. So this is obviously a game that they play. Yeah. At this point, I'm freaking out. I'm like, can't have my kids in there. Like, we're not talking about them. He's like, all I need from you is I just need a statement. I just need you to confirm that this is what happened. Like, it doesn't need to be heavy. Just give me a couple details and give me a statement, and we can take this out. So I basically made a deal with the devil. And I was like, okay, fine. And ironically enough, that same day, I had texted Nigel that afternoon before this even happened. And I'd said to him, I was in Regent's Park and I was feeding ducks with my daughter, actually. I said, I wish you were here. And I sent him a photo and he said, oh, where are you? And I told him I was in Regent's Park and I was like, well, where were you? And he's like, oh, I'm in Zurich. And I think I asked him when he was back. And then on my way back home, I get, the reporter after me. And then when I'd gone back inside to my flat and all this had happened, I actually did text Nigel. I said to him, something's happened. He asked, are you okay? I said, no, I did tell him. I said, something's happened. And I was trying to warn him. I wanted to tell him, but he ignored the message. So when all of this came out, I was essentially fed to the wolves by him, because he acted like he never met me and didn't know who I was. And then, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and just let someone lie like that. And I'm being called all the names in the book, and a stripper, and, all kinds of horrible things. I'm on lockdown in my flat because there's camera people outside, and my daughter had to miss her recital. It was awful. So I was quite angry at that point. I'm like, why is he just tell the truth? Like, I'm just thinking, come on. So that's when I get onto my social media, and I'm like, okay, you want to deny this? Well, why don't we ask this person, this person? Why don't we check the CCTV? Why don't we check this? Why don't we check that? And then, the story changes. So it goes from him lying to, the very generic, something like you'd see off Little Britain. I only met her briefly. She tried, or she wanted more, or some crap like that. She asked me for a ride home, so I gave her a gentlemanly lift home, and that was all. So, a gentlemanly lift home. Yeah, because that's what you can do, you go up to some random person you don't know, and you just say, hey, I'm going to cancel my car. Can you just give me a gentlemanly lift home, Nigel?
Well, does he make a habit of this? Can anybody go?
That's what I'm saying. Can anyone just go up to Nigel and be like, I would like one of those gentlemanly lift homes? The UK Valerie, could I get one of those? There was this back and forth in the media, and then he kind of just, I'm not going to get into a war of words with her, because, well, what are you going to say? I've got all the receipts. I keep the receipts.
Well, I've seen the Valerie archive. It's an extensive. It's like a black museum.
I have the receipts. I have things. There's things in the book that the media doesn't know. There's footage that no one knows I have, apart from you and about 3 other people.
And there is footage, yes.
That has never been released, that he doesn't know about. There are things that contradict his story. The tabloids wouldn't have printed this if they hadn't seen the proof. Do I have this card?
Why do you have this card?
Why do I have one of what was Donald Trump's advisor card? Was also advisor to President Bush. Why do I have Nigel in his handwriting with his phone number scratched out the first time? Because, as I said back in 2017, I told him, your handwriting is shit. You need to redo it. Why do I have this person's card? Did that just fall out of the sky? No, it didn't. Because it wasn't just a gentlemanly lift home.
No, he gentlemanly gave you one of Donald Trump's driver's business cards.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm not trying to sound like a mad old parrot just parroting away, okay? But this is relevant now probably more than ever, because we're talking about someone who could be Prime Minister in 2029. So that means lies matter. The truth matters.
Character
matters. A man's character matters. So if you're okay to lie and throw a woman under the bus then, and you're still okay to lie and not correct it, what else are you lying about? What else is he lying about?
He was lying about other things at the time.
Oh, yeah, which were proved to be true.
Yes.
Things that I told the press.
Exactly.
That he told me. And how would I know these things unless we had the conversation? There was a lot of things that happened, and there's a lot of things the media don't know, that people out there don't know. But the book is the full picture. It is the chronological order of, the 21st of March onwards. And there's so much more to it than what was reported. And it's there for everyone to read exactly how things happened, when they happened, what happened, and other things that we're not going to mention yet, but that have not yet come out, that are going to come out when this comes out. So, as I said back then, put your man pants on and just tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Just
tell the truth. That's all you need to do. If you're, he's being like, calling out certain people or getting rid of certain people in his party for moral reasons. Well, how are you going to be so hypocritical?
Well, it's a very, very strange proposition.
I'm not saying, politicians, of course they lie, but when you're going for prime minister, you need to be able to sometimes just fess up and say, look, I fucked up.
Yeah,
I lied.
The cover-up is all often worse than the crime, isn't it?
Exactly.
And, he could have made this go away for you quite easily.
Imagine if he'd just told the truth back then. How much easier. Like, this wouldn't even probably be brought up. It is brought up in the book because it's part of my story.
Yeah, and a very small part of the story.
Very small. That's the thing. It's in one chapter. This book is not about Nigel. So if anyone thinks that, they're going to be disappointed. This is not... My world doesn't revolve around Nigel.
No, it's not like the final scene.
No, so...
It's not even the final scandal of 2017, is it? And
God, no. So there's two. Actually, I was hanging out with him and his friends that night. So